Welcome, Husker Nation, to Fan Question Day here in the Carriker Chronicles. Now, I got a lot of questions to get to. I'm going to go really fast. I apologize if I don't get to you or I mispronounce your name, and I will be shortening some of the questions just for the sake of time. So here I go. I'm going to start out on Facebook with Jason Heck. When will the coaches realize that we play teams like Iowa, Wisconsin, and Penn State? We need big players on defense to tackle their big players on offense, and we need big, bruising running backs as well. Well, it's a bit of a catch-22. I agree. We need to be more physical on defense, but you don't want to get too big, because then when you play these SEC schools and these speedy Florida schools, you get exposed for being too small. So me, it's about a mentality on defense, of laying the smack down on that offensive guy when you're going against him. Now, offensively, I'm all about blue-collar, in-your-face, smash-mouth offensive football. But at the same time, you can't force Mike Riley to continue to jam a square peg into a round hole. Love Tommy Armstrong, but next year he's going to have a quarterback to run his scheme, and you have to let Mike Riley be Mike Riley and do what he does best, or it's not going to work. Next up, Ronald Glenn Conrad. How can a school that ranks higher in recruiting lose to schools that rank lower in recruiting, and why don't we win the in-state battles? Well, first of all, they don't always rank kids correctly coming out of high school, and there's this thing called the weight room, coaching, and heart. That is extremely hard to measure. I myself was only a 3-star recruit coming out of high school. Now, as far as the in-state battle, why are we not winning that? It just wasn't a priority to Pelini, and that's a big mistake. You win championships by winning the recruiting battle in your state to begin with, especially in the state of Nebraska, and I hope they do better with that going forward. Catherine Wacker, losing to Iowa was horrible. It felt like we took a step back. Do you have confidence that the coaching staff can figure it out? And also, can the OL and defensive lines be fixed? I have confidence. I don't have a ton of confidence. All we can really do is support Coach Riley for the next couple years, give him a couple more years, and just see what happens. As far as the offensive and defensive lines, there's more questions about those, trust me, coming up. So I'll answer that when I get to those questions. Brad Gwynn, why does our defensive scheme always seem to be one missed tackle away from giving up a big play? So I'll just use this play right behind me. So in most 4-3 schemes, there's one player for one gap. And I'll just use this exact scheme here. So what happens is if you get knocked out of your gap, so this guy now has the A gap, he has the B gap. If this D tackle gets knocked out of his gap, this nose guard can help cover his rear end. He has his gap and he can help him if he gets knocked out. Well, what happens if that gap's small? It's not that hard to do. But if it's big, which has happened at times for Nebraska, it's hard for that nose guard to have both gaps. So what happens is this running back pops through, the Mike linebacker is gone, now he's one-on-one with the safety in open field, and that's how big plays happen. Now defensively, if this guy penetrates, if he penetrates, if the Mike linebacker penetrates, that's how you get big plays on defense. Now, Mitch Olson. If we do go to the Outback Bowl between Tennessee, Florida, and LSU, which team do we have the best chance of beating? Well, LSU has 4 losses to 4 really good football teams. In my opinion, Florida's probably the best team. I mean, just look at what they did at Florida State. They were without 7 starters, and that game was close going into the 4th quarter. How many other college teams could have done that? In my opinion, Tennessee has a couple of lucky wins and a couple of bad losses. They would be the easiest, not easy, but the weakest team we could play. But it looks like we're going to play either Florida or most likely LSU in that bowl game. Logan Begeman, in your opinion, where does Tommy Armstrong rank among the best quarterbacks in Nebraska history? When I think of the greatest of all time, I think of Crouch, I think of Frazier, I think of Gill, I think of Taggy, I think of Scott Frost. He had a rough junior year, great senior year national champion. With all the records that Tommy has, I would put him somewhere in the top 10. You got to keep in mind, he was playing in a system these past 2 years that did not fit him, and that hurt him individually. Kenneth Nystrom Jr., hope I got that right. How do you think Nate Gary will do at the next level? He has a motor. I think he'll do very well. He has speed, he has an attitude, he can tackle, he can catch. He's going to be a very good NFL football player. Jay Caslin, and this literally just came in since we started recording. Okay. When can we expect to see your book or books, Life as a Husker and Experiences in the NFL? Wish I'd have known that was going to be there before the show, but here's what I can do. I can make a call and I can let you know in the future. Thanks for the question. Rich Lockwood, if Washington and Clemson both lose, do you think we could see 3 Big Ten teams in the playoffs? I looked this up and it's a possibility if they both lose. Michigan would get in, I think, because they beat Penn State and Wisconsin. And then for that 4th spot, you could have the winner of the Big Ten championship game, or you could have Colorado if they beat Washington, or you could have Oklahoma if they win the Big 12 championship. So it could get wild and crazy this weekend depending on what happens. Jeff Wilson, why are our O and D lines being dominated? As much as I don't like Iowa, Ferentz is a really good O-line and D-line coach. Why is this diminished so badly in Nebraska? Again, I'll come back to it's an attitude. The 2 most basic things in football, blocking and tackling don't take a lot of physical gifts. Obviously they help, but it's a mentality. You can't have an attitude of entitlement. You got to have an attitude of whoop-assedness. And that's the biggest thing that needs to happen going forward to improve the trenches for the Huskers. Matthew Lawrence Jones. Who's the dude pinching your booty in the profile pic? I actually don't know. I'm going to assume it's an offensive lineman who was trying to block me. Barbara Arp. Do you think other coaches should be fired? And the first name that comes to my mind is Mark Banker, because several people have asked me about him. But we're only in year 2. You can't go firing everybody already. Also, Iowa and Ohio State were really bad defensive performances, but as an overall whole, there was a noticeable marked improvement by the Black Shirts this season. So give Mark Banker some more leash. A short leash, but give him some more leash and some more time. Jay Chavamit, hope I got that right. What do you think of the 2017 defense? I haven't seen spring practice. We have guys committed, but I don't know who's actually signed yet, so I cannot comment on that just yet. Eugene Rosales, still digging that intro music, Adam. Thank you. Glenn Cox, does Ohio State deserve to be in the Final Four? I go into this more in depth on my video from Monday, but the answer to that question is yes. Mark Parker, my question, do you think officiating in the Big Ten is good or bad compared to other conferences? Well, here's what I'll say, and I don't want to whine or complain, so I'm just going to say this. It seems Nebraska never gets the benefit of the doubt. The calls tend to go against us. I'd like to see a discussion happen between people about that, but it's part of the game. Don't want to whine or complain. Aaron Rhodes. Hey Adam, looking to the 2018 schedule, it's a bit brutal. We have Colorado, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan State, and more. Will it be a make or break year for Coach Riley in his 4th year, and how do we win those games? It will be a make or break year, and as far as how we win those games, we got to be more physical on defense. On offense, we have to find an identity. We don't have an identity. We need to find that identity. Let me switch over to Twitter real quick and get to those questions. Matthew Lawrence. Was reminded you have a business background. Made me curious if you prescribe to the Austrian School of Economic Thought. I don't know what that is, so I'm going to say no. But thank you for your question. Joe Summers, do you see Les Miles getting a look by Mike Riley for a coordinator assistant job considering his son will be a Husker? Probably not, because we're not firing any more coordinators. I don't see Les Miles coming in to be a special teams coordinator, and he's also good enough to be hired as a head coach somewhere else. Let's see, next question. We have Navy Thomas 8. Are you going to put in for the special teams coaching job? Well, here's something I've never said publicly before or let people know. When the D-line coaching job came open last February, I had several conversations with folks down in Lincoln. Now, Coach John Perella got the job, he deserved it, and he's going to do a great job. But you never know when you might see Carriker back on the sidelines in Lincoln. C. Witt, do you fear that once Riley has the players he wants, that we might be a soft, finesse West Coast offensive team? Yes, I do. But you have to let him run his system. You have to. He's our coach. We have to back him. We have to let him run his system. I do have the concern that we will be soft, but I'm not saying it's going to happen. But I remember a Purdue team winning a Big Ten championship with Drew Brees. I know, a great quarterback, but throwing the ball over the yard. So you got to give him a chance. You never know what can happen. Stephen Westra, with 2 injured quarterbacks going into the Iowa game, why wasn't Darlington given a chance? Run the ball short in the game. I agree. Wildcat. I said it before the Minnesota game. Turned out Tommy was 100%. I said it before Maryland. Turned out they're really bad, and Fife played really well. But Fife was banged up. Tommy clearly wasn't 100%. We needed a spark against Iowa. Wildcat. Do something different. Make Iowa defend something they'd never seen before. I wish we would have done it against Iowa. I completely agree with that. There was some more questions about the current state of the offensive and defensive lines in the future. On the defensive line, I said it before, we missed the 3 guys who would have been 3-year starters on that defensive front, and 2 of them in the NFL doing very well. As far as the future, we got a lot of commits. Haven't signed yet, but a lot of commits for the defensive line will be expected to contribute right away. Maybe not as starters, but in nickel situations or as backups to spell the starters. Carlos Davis did a great job of that this year. Offensive line, we have a whole bunch of, we got some guys who redshirted who are waiting to play. So I'm excited to see these guys come in for the defensive line and these guys who've been redshirting for the offensive line. I'm excited to see how the trenches could improve going forward. Now, as far as the Carriker Chronicles going forward, up until the bowl game at least, I'm going to go twice a week. Monday, Wednesday. Every Monday and every Wednesday up until the bowl game. So until Monday, Husker Nation, go Big Red, and always remember to throw the bones.